This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Trouble, you're gonna see that your words are dangerous, your talk is cheap. So now I'm standing here, you tell yourself you know what to do when you realize that I am coming for you. Then you'll change your mind and run like a giant.
Place to Be Nation, welcome back to another episode of Extreme Resurrection. I am your host, James Gruenberg, and tonight we will be covering ECW on Sci-Fi from March 4th, 2008 and March 11th, 2008. But as always, I have my partner with me. He is Mr. Steve Riddle. Steve, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. I'm glad to be back as we continue in our journey here through the spring now of 2008.
Yeah, and tonight we're covering what seems to be the end of two feuds, hopefully, as in our first episode we have two title matches. The WWE Tag Team titles are on the line here as Colin Delaney and Tommy Dreamer take on the Miz and John Morrison. And will we finally put it to rest this ECW title feud between CM Punk and Chavo Guerrero?
Mm-hmm.
One can only hope, right, Steve?
Yeah.
But tonight, as a lot of the wrestling world knows, and we know for certain, WWE superstar and ECW superstar Sabu passed away a couple of weeks after WrestleMania weekend this year. His last match was at Joey Janela's spring break at GCW, where he took on Joey Janela in a match too that involved heavy barbed wire spots and everything. Sabu is known for his extremeness in ECW. He is an extreme icon. He was trained by his uncle, the original Sheik, in hardcore levels of wrestling here. And Steve, when you think of Sabu, what is the first thing that you think of?
Well, I think when you just the visual of Sabu with like all the scars all over his body and just seeing like all the punishment he went through, when you hear the stories of like him in FMW in Japan, just putting himself through tables and everything he did. And I think in terms of like a match, I think you have to me, two matches come to mind. First, the match with Taz at Barely Legal, because that was like probably like the most hyped match on that card. And then in August 97, the infamous barbed wire match with him and Terry Funk for the ECW title, where there was that one moment where Sabu went for like air Sabu, Funk avoided it, and Sabu like literally just like completely teared his bicep open from the barbed wire. And then he spent like the next 5-10 minutes of the match, wrapping it up in tape just so he continued the match. So Sabu was a daredevil, and he was definitely an innovator, and definitely a guy that really helped put ECW on the map in the mid-90s.
Yeah, I always think of that feud with Taz at Barely, and that brawl between him and Taz at Barely Legal 97, and also when ECW invaded Monday Night Raw the first time in 1997, where Sabu jumped off the giant R when they still had the Raw letters on the stage at the Manhattan Center. And that was a very iconic moment too, because Raw was still trying to find its way onto big stages too, and they still had like the small venue arenas and that big R, and Sabu just jumped off the R there. Sabu would not even finish. Sabu would not stay with ECW all the way until 2001. He would be back and forth between companies, and then he would leave ECW in 2000. Our friends over on the North South Connection who do Extreme Three-Way Dance, they just covered Sabu's last match on ECW television, and he would be gone there and he would do indies. He would come back as a surprise at One Night Stand 2005, and then he signed to WWE in 2006, returning to ECW. And he had that insane match with Rey Mysterio at One Night Stand 2 in 2006. That was crazy because he does the inverted DDT to Rey, and it ends up in a no contest as well. And then he would get the nod after Kurt Angle was a no-go for Big Show's ECW title at SummerSlam 06. That match was brutal for Sabu as well. He gets chokeslammed at the Royal Rumble in 2007. He was a force with the ECW originals versus the New Breed. And then he ultimately ends up leaving ECW in May 2007 after what we described as not wanting to do the job to Kevin Thorne for the New Breed, but that was one of the many releases that ECW on Sci-Fi would have during this time frame too. It started off with like Test, then it was Sabu, and then Rob Van Dam left. So it was sort of a mess in 2007.
Yeah, it was. I mean, you can't argue though that the year he did have a fairly good year that he was there. Like you said, the match with Big Show at SummerSlam for the title. He did face Cena and Vengeance in that lumberjack match, and he did get a good moment for WrestleMania. He got to wrestle in a match, and he also, of course, got to induct his uncle, the Sheik, into the Hall of Fame that weekend. So it wasn't all that bad for him, and like you said, the guy, he pretty much he bounced around a lot over the years. I mean, he's obviously very remembered for ECW, but he did have a very brief WCW run in '95. He had a pretty good run in TNA. Obviously, I mentioned Japan, and I remember this because I was actually at that show. He was at AEW's Double or Nothing in 2023. He was the enforcer for the unsanctioned match between Chris Jericho and Adam Cole, and he was out there for like all about 5 minutes of the match because for those that remember, the match it was like a brawl between Jericho's group and Cole's group. Sabu came out and he was like in a full suit, and he does like a dive off the top rope, putting somebody through a table with the Atomic Arabian Facebuster, and then everyone just kind of cleared to the back, and it just became like a standard one-on-one match. So, but that was like I think that was like my only time getting to see Sabu live. And then, like you said, he literally wrestling for over WrestleMania weekend just weeks prior to his death. And I know when you guys were here, we were hedging on if we wanted to go to that show, but we ultimately decided against it. Probably now looking back, maybe the best idea, because if the stories that are coming out from that show about what kind of state Sabu was in, and knowing what would eventually happen, kind of not a good thing, but yeah, but again, the guy, he was he was an innovator, and he'll just be remembered as such. And I know you hear a lot of great stories about him. I know like Rob Van Dam was, obviously credits him and the Sheik for getting him into wrestling. I know Taz did a good little tribute for him on the Dynamite. All the shows did like the tribute for him. It was funny that when WWE did the slate for him, that they had his real name listed, which is for those that may not know, is actually Terrence Brunk. Kind of funny to think that that's his real name. And I know that that probably a lot of people confuse that with Terry Funk, hence why he always went by Sabu. But again, a guy that will always be remembered for being one of the innovators of ECW and for being one of the most daring, no fear, and just great hardcore icons of our time.
Mm-hmm. And I guess the one thing that was off was when he got taken out of the Extreme Elimination Chamber in 2006, and it was Hardcore Holly who got his spot. That was the only thing that left me wondering why not have Sabu in the match. And it was like, could he not be trusted? Was he afraid? Like, was Vince afraid of him like screwing up spots? Because in early 2006, it felt like he was really blowing a lot of spots here and there, and like just missing and botching a lot of moves, like mistiming the moves. And it really got me wondering, is Vince afraid to let Sabu wrestle on this pay-per-view because he knows that it might be a liability with the spots here and there?
I mean, him missing spots was something that always happened to him. I mean, you watch a lot of his stuff in ECW. There's occasions of him, missing or blowing spots or whatever, but he always, they always seem to make it work. So I don't know. Maybe it's just, again, maybe he just wasn't. Maybe he was just becoming more of a liability backstage, and that's why they took him out. Plus, there's always the story that I guess Vince just wanted, didn't want Lashley to have to compete with, he's already in there against Rob Van Dam and CM Punk, who were going to get bigger pops than him anyway. So I guess putting another guy that was, just as over in Sabu was just something Vince didn't want.
Yeah, and I kind of feel better that we didn't go to that GCW show. Like, again, the story's coming out. It's like, the owner of GCW or who runs it, like, let Sabu wrestle when he really should not have been wrestling at all.
Yeah. Plus, there was also some story. I can't remember which guy said it. It was somebody that was at the WrestleCon that I guess talked to Sabu, and I guess he says that Sabu was telling him how because the hook behind it was that it was the match with Janela was going to be his retirement match, but I guess Sabu was telling this guy that they may claim that they're trying to force me into retirement, but I'm never going to retire, which it sounds like something Sabu would say. I mean, obviously sadly never know now, but I mean, I guess just one of those, that one of those things that we'll always just think about looking back.
Yeah. The final thoughts on Sabu is he was an ECW icon. He had some amazing feuds, and he was a face of hardcore, Steve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think our buddy Ryan Gray had put on like one of our chats a few weeks ago, like, who's your ECW Mount Rushmore? I'm sure, and if you ask like 10 different people to give 10 different, different Mount Rushmores, but I'm fairly certain that if you ask majority, a lot of them would probably say Sabu's on there somewhere.
Yeah. Well, like we always say, rest in peace, Sabu. And again, we lost another ECW icon. So, we have to transition into these ECW shows. This is ECW March 4th, 2008. We've had a lot of build-up here between Chavo Guerrero and CM Punk. We have Chavo beating Punk for the ECW title. CM Punk crashes Chavo Guerrero's Fiesta night. Then he throws him into the Gulf of Mexico. And then CM Punk wins the triple threat match for the number one contender spot for the ECW title versus Chavo. And tonight we will have that matchup here. And we are live in Cleveland, Ohio. And we are going to kick it off with our first title match here. It is the WWE Tag Team Championship match. It is Tommy Dreamer and Colin Delaney versus the Miz and John Morrison. Colin Delaney got a pin in the tag team, one of the tag team matches with Tommy Dreamer. Was it him or was it Tommy that got that pin, Steve?
No, it was Tommy, because remember I was saying how it would have helped Delaney more if he had gotten the
Yeah.
pin.
Yeah, so Tommy Dreamer gets a pin, but Colin Delaney still has not pinned anybody, but he still feels like a winner. And you, like you said, Steve, it's the Mikey Whipwreck position here.
Hmm.
Tommy and Morrison start 450 splash by Colin, clothesline by the Miz, spinning heel kick by Morrison, tag to Tommy, slingshot to Morrison, neckbreaker by Tommy. Miz breaks up a Texas Cloverleaf. Then Colin Delaney gets thrown out of the ring, and then he gets a chair and hits the Miz and Morrison with it, causing a disqualification. So the Miz and Morrison will retain by disqualification. And it looks like this feud is not over. I thought it was going to end here. I gave this matchup a star and a quarter. The crowd seemed very dead here as well. So a star and a quarter for me, and a wonky finish as well.
Yeah, I went star and a quarter as well. I did like that little that like tower move that Dreamer Delaney did. Kind of reminded me of the old like tower that Quebec, I think it was, that the Quebecers used to do. Except Delaney was on Tommy's shoulders, which I thought was a good touch. Obviously Delaney being the face of peril gets again nice little ass kicking, and then he gets the hot tag to Tommy. Yeah, the ending kind of came out of nowhere. Like it was just kind of starting to get going, and then Colin came in with the chair to break it up. And actually, Morrison took a nasty shot to the head from from Delaney. It's a good thing he got his hand up, because that could have been pretty bad. But like you said, kind of now the teams have split in essence, because Dreamer Colin won the previous week. Now Miz and Morrison won this week, only by DQ. So you figure there's going to be a rubber match between the two teams, and obviously we'll see that. Obviously we know that there's going to be a stip involved with it to finally kind of bring about a actual winner for this feud.
Yeah, as it will be announced that next week will be an Extreme Rules tag team title match, and it'll be Colin Delaney and Tommy Dreamer once again for the WWE tag team titles. I almost want to say the ECW tag titles because the WWE titles, SmackDown titles, are being featured on ECW a lot.
Well, we got two ECW guys carrying them. That's why.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. So now we have another matchup here. It is Shelton Benjamin versus Stevie Richards. Stevie Richards has been on a hot streak, winning 3 weeks in a row here. This one, I think we can say how it was going to go here, but let's see. Backdrop by Stevie, shoulder breaker by Shelton. Springboard elbow to Stevie. Shelton misses a cross body, side slam by Stevie, enziguri to Shelton, and then an inverted bulldog by Shelton for the win. For this matchup, I gave it a star and a half. As always, a good performance by Shelton Benjamin. But again, you're trying to build up that Stevie's making this comeback and you have him lose to Shelton. But again, it's not like Shelton Benjamin's going to lose because they're setting him up for this gold standard run here as well. So it looked like they were sort of in a bind here. It's like, who do we have lose? Do we have Stevie make a comeback, or do we have Shelton Benjamin just beat Stevie?
Yeah, I went star and a half as well. Because by this point, Shelton had already qualified for the Money in the Bank match at WrestleMania. So they had that. So they were talking about that. And yeah, kind of a weird spot here because, like you said, Stevie's been getting a little momentum, and now they put him in here against Benjamin because again Benjamin's not going to lose because they're clearly pushing him. They do have a good little back and forth for the 5 minutes that they got. Stevie does get some good praise from the crowd. But Shelton does end up getting the clean win, and so he's got that going for him. And then and then after the match, he talks about the Money in the Bank match, and then he's going to win and cash in. So again, just nothing much here. Just a win for Shelton.
Yeah, again, were you really going to have Stevie win and be like the guy you're trying to have rise up? I don't think so, too. But it was a good 3 weeks of Stevie getting wins here as well. So now we get a Raw recap, Steve, here, and it is Santino Marella. He ruins Maria's Playboy cover reveal here, where you see like the cover come down and there's Santino's face plastered all over like the so-called nudie parts, like the bra and the panties as well. Those shots are covered by Santino's face, but then the King steps in and then they reveal the actual cover as well. Your thoughts on that, Steve?
There, where they reveal the cover, and it's like Santino's face on Maria's face, and then on her tatas there, but then like he tries to take her away, and King Lawler, who was doing the presentation, knocks him down. Then they, like you said, reveal the real poster. And I love the tagline there they had for Maria, where it says like Maria shows us the ropes and shows us her rack. I thought that was good. Kind of funny though that it's that Candace is that it's Candace here. Because I forgot she was still around. I know that she had gotten hurt back in October when Beth Phoenix put her on the shelf, so it was weird seeing her back here. But again, just more publicity there for Maria and for the Playboy cover.
Yeah, and then we go to the backstage where Kelly and Kofi Kingston are backstage. Kofi Kingston says that Kelly can be a Playboy model too, and then Layla's like, "Oh well, they were gonna call me to do Playboy," and then like basically it's like a high school drama. It's like, "Oh, you're a liar," and then Kelly and Layla end up brawling in the back. So. I don't know. Are they trying something with Kofi and Kelly here? Like, was Kelly going to be Kofi Kingston's manager?
I mean, well, she's I guess the thing with her and Balls Mahoney is done now, so just move her on to somebody else.
Yep. So now we have I would say this is like the weirdest match of the night here because again, if you weren't watching. We don't watch SmackDown, so we don't know what's going on outside of ECW, but it's Kane versus James Curtis. All of a sudden, Chuck Palumbo comes out riding his motorcycle, and then Kane is like a little bit distracted, but then he gets the chokeslam on Curtis for the win. I gave this a dud.
Yeah, I gave it a dud too. Basic squash here. Yeah, Chuck Palumbo doing his Undertaker impression during this run with coming out on the motorcycle. I don't know like what the whole thing was with him, but yeah, they were they talked about commentary that Kane and Palumbo were going to face off that week on SmackDown. So I guess Palumbo just wanted to scout some competition.
Yeah, and you see a guy like Chuck Palumbo, who we don't know like what's going on with him on SmackDown here. Like he's doing this biker gimmick, and I thought he would have been great for ECW at this time. Like have him versus CM Punk. He looks like a powerhouse that like could wrestle. Like have him like fight Tommy and all of them.
Yeah, it was like he just kind of came back in 07 like out of nowhere with, like you said, with his biker gimmick, and now like you said, even though we're not watching SmackDown, I am still just keeping just kind of like looking over like the notes just to kind of see what was going on, just so a point of reference. This was during the time where he was like in this weird like three-way feud. It was like him, Jamie Noble, and Michelle McCool, where like the two of them were trying to were trying to court her in essence. It just again just really bizarre bizarre stuff between those three, and again just just I think just a reason to finally give Palumbo something to do because he hadn't really done much since his return.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we'll see Kane versus Chuck Palumbo on SmackDown if you were watching SmackDown. Then we get another Raw recap. It's the Big Show, and he gives Brandon Hill a beatdown and sends Floyd Mayweather a message. He also throws Brandon Hill to the ground as well, and he just like flops basically.
Yeah, that guy. He was basically just he was like a legit Floyd Mayweather. Great value Floyd Mayweather. What I'm trying to say, and yeah, that I mean, he is complete. Like Big Show gives him nothing on that press slam. I mean, he just drops him, and he just like plants on the floor. I'm surprised that guy didn't get hurt.
Yeah, so we'll see how this matchup comes into play as it's going to be Floyd Mayweather versus the Big Show at WrestleMania 24. And then we have a backstage interview. It's Lena Yada. She's interviewing CM Punk. Punk calls Chavo a coward. And then he says there's only one Guerrero that's a warrior, but he doesn't say which one it is, but he says it's not Chavo. I was wondering if he was saying that it was Eddie, but he didn't want to like bring Eddie's name onto the show because I guess maybe like Eddie Guerrero meant so much to CM Punk during like Eddie's time in Ring of Honor too and everything. But let's talk about Lena Yada. They promoted her. I don't know if it's a promotion or demotion, but now she's just regulated to doing these backstage interviews. They had like hype for her, but I guess they realized she's green as grass.
Yeah, I think they realized early on that she wasn't going to. I mean, as bad as Kelly and Layla were, Lena was even worse. So they had to, I think, just kind of realize that she has a better role, and that's as an interviewer.
Yeah, it's the same thing that they did with like Brooke Adams as well.
And now she's gone. So
yeah, like just like a lot of like mishmash here with the divas in WWE as well as like the ones who are on ECW because you only have really Kelly versus Layla feuds. You had Victoria for like a little bit, but she's on her way out soon, so not really a whole lot going on there as well. So now we have for the ECW title match. This should be the last match, hopefully. It is CM Punk versus Chavo Guerrero. Sidekick to Chavo. Tilt-a-whirl backbreaker to Chavo. Knees by Punk. Another backbreaker to Chavo. Chavo pushes Punk to the outside. Chavo takes out Punk's knee. Head scissors to Chavo. Punk drives to Chavo on the outside. Punk dives to Chavo on the outside. Springboard clothesline by Punk. Running knee and bulldog to Chavo. Boston Crab to Punk. Tornado DDT by Chavo. And then a frog splash by Chavo for the win. Chavo was countering CM Punk's suplex and he pushed him off again off the top rope, and then Chavo lands the frog splash, and he gets the win here. So Chavo again pins Punk cleanly, like he did at No Way Out too. So I gave this matchup 2.25, Steve. It was very good, and again, Chavo Guerrero pins CM Punk clean.
Yeah, I went 2.5. I think this was definitely their of all their matches. I think this was the best one. Say what you will about Chavo. I mean, the guy can still go in the ring, and Punk and he actually do have some very good chemistry together. Punk with a good early showing, and then that spot where he goes for the springboard, but Chavo just shoves him off to the floor. That was awesome. That was a nasty bump. Like I'm surprised again that nothing seriously happened there to Punk, and then Chavo kind of spends the match working the leg. Punk making his big comeback while still selling the leg. Eventually, he tries to then kind of work the arm to give have something for Chavo. Again, just good back and forth between the two. And then the finish again, just Adam just again kind of another a clean win for Chavo, a clean title defense. And I think by this point, I think people are probably realizing that maybe Punk's time on ECW may not be maybe coming to an end here soon, and that he may be due for one of the other the two brands, because I think he's at this point he's been there since the beginning, and he's done pretty much everything there can be. I mean, he's been in some big feuds. He's had a good title reign, and I think at this point people are probably realizing that maybe it's time for him to either go to Raw or SmackDown to kind of get in there with some of the bigger names and see how we can stack up against them.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's not that like CM Punk's run on ECW was a bust, because like we saw some great matches, but again, his time as ECW champion was a little wonky because he started with Elijah Burke, which wasn't bad at all. They always tore the house down, but then he gets saddled with Big Daddy V and Mark Henry. What are you going to do with those big guys too? So it's not like there were a lot of middleweight wrestlers. Like, you're feeding Punk heavyweights, and he's winning by disqualification, or he's just getting beaten up pretty badly too and everything. So I wouldn't say he had like the best run as ECW champion, but he still won the title.
Yeah, and I mean, plus when he was champion, that was around when the the signature pharmacy thing happened, so a bunch of guys had to get suspended. I wonder if they were even going to give him the belt at all, because if you figure at some point during that feud with Morrison over the summer that Punk would have beaten him at one of the pay-per-views, but he never did. So it seemed like they were going to just stick with Morrison, but then they had to give it to Punk out of necessity. And then they kind of realized there weren't really that many high-end challengers for Punk. He had the match with Burke, but then Burke had kind of cooled off. They ramped up Big Daddy V, but then that flopped. Then when Morrison came back, they started this transition with him and Miz as a team. And then really by December, Punk's reign was really by then on fumes, and it was just a matter of time of who, somebody was finally going to end it. And then eventually there's this, they decided on Chavo because, the thing going on with him and with him here and with Edge and Vicky on SmackDown. So, I mean, I think like I said, Punk, I think like you said, he had a good reign, but he could have had a better reign, and maybe if he had some better challengers.
Yeah, so we'll see what they do with CM Punk here, as well as there's still a couple of Money in the Bank spots open for WrestleMania 24. Like you said, Shelton Benjamin and Chris Jericho had qualified, and a couple others too will be qualifying. So I know Carlito was in that match, and MVP is going to be in that match as well. So we'll see what's in store for CM Punk if he can qualify for a Money in the Bank spot as well. As we are marching on to WrestleMania 24, this is ECW, March 11th, 2008. We are live in Chicago, so we're in CM Punk's hometown. And it was announced, here tonight that it will be CM Punk versus Big Daddy V for a Money in the Bank spot. So CM Punk has a chance to be in the Money in the Bank matchup and achieve his dream of maybe cashing in that briefcase for a title, Steve.
Mm-hmm. And convenient that they had the ECW title match, him lose that the week before in Cleveland and not this week, and not see him so that his hometown fans didn't get to see him jobbed out again.
Yeah. now we have and so we kick off with our WWE Tag Team title match. This time it is contested under Extreme Rules. It is again a rematch. It is the Miz and Morrison versus Tommy Dreamer and Colin Delaney. Tommy and Morrison start off crossbody by Colin to Miz and Morrison, double clothesline by Tommy, and a front flip dive by Colin. Tommy goes into the shopping cart. Miz goes into Morrison. Colin canes both Miz and Morrison. Morrison and Miz beat on Tommy and Colin. Leaping elbow by Morrison. Tommy hits Morrison with a trash can lid. Colin Delaney then puts on a Chicago Bears helmet and does a what's up dive like Devon does with the helmet to Morrison. Double tree of woe and a double DDT to both Miz and Morrison, but they both get their feet on the ropes. Colin and Tommy both suplex Miz and Morrison. Morrison counters a bulldog. Morrison moonsaults onto a trash can onto Colin, and then a power slam into a table for the win by Miz and Morrison to Tommy Dreamer. This match was insane, Steve. And I'm giving it 3 stars. I really enjoyed this. You almost really thought that Tommy Dreamer and Colin Delaney were going to win the titles. I thought it was going to be over when they did the double DDTs, but then the Miz and Morrison both got their feet on the ropes, so the referee had to break it up. And then that double team power slam by the Miz and Morrison, they slammed Tommy onto the back right into the legs of the table. So that definitely has to hurt Tommy's back. They don't even go forward with it. They throw him backwards too through the table. So that really must have hurt Tommy Dreamer here. But I gave it 3 stars. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I gave it 2 3/4. I was very pleasantly surprised with how much I enjoyed this. I love how Tommy comes out with the Cubs jersey, playing up to the fans, and then they have the like the black Chicago White Sox jersey on one of the weapons. It was nice to see Colin actually finally land some offense, because for the since we've seen him, he's only been a punching bag, so he's finally getting some offense in there, with some the cross body, and then the somersault senton were good spots. I did like the what's up spot too, with him wearing the Bears helmet. Although second after Miz that hits him with the trash can lid and he sells it, I'm like, shouldn't the helmet be protecting that? I don't know. Maybe not. I did like how, because at first when the match started, I thought it was going to be just like a standard tag match, and I was thinking to myself, like, this is Extreme Rules, just make it a tornado tag. And then like 30 seconds in, it became a tornado tag. I was like, oh, okay, thank God they did that. They did do the tagging. Yeah, a couple good, again, double team spots, the double tree of woe in the corner, like you said. The Dreamer hitting the superplex while Delaney hit the power bomb. And yeah, I bit on the double DDT spot too. But again, my kind of think is like, it's Extreme Rules. Why are there rope breaks? That's just again one of those kind of weird things that that you go back and that people kind of go back and forth on. Colin going for that deadly dog in essence, and Morrison just like chucking him over the top of the floor, and Morrison and Colin landed with a thud, and then Morrison the great moonsault with the trash can on the floor. I thought that was a great spot. And then the double spine buster on the back through the legs, which I don't think we've ever seen before. Which was really, that was very innovative. Like I don't think I've ever seen that before. So I thought that was a really great finish. And it kind of would have been nice to see Tommy and Colin win, just to kind of pay this off. But I understand why they wanted Morrison and Miz to keep the belts. It'll be interesting to see if they do have anything planned for them for WrestleMania, because right now it seems like there's not much for them. It's also going to be interesting to see where they go with Tommy and Colin. Is this the end of Colin's journey, or is he going to keep going? Because technically he still doesn't have a contract, so we'll have to see where his journey now goes from here. But yeah, a really fun match, a hidden gem, I think. and definitely one that's I think both teams can really hang their hat on and be very proud of.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we'll have to see where Morrison and Miz go as as WWE SmackDown champions here. And again, like you said, what's going to happen with Colin and Tommy as well. Now we have Armando Estrada. He comes out and he announces that there will be a battle royal at WrestleMania 24 for the ECW title #1 contendership. So there will be superstars from SmackDown, Raw, and ECW all competing in a over-the-top battle royal for a shot at Chavo Guerrero's ECW title at WrestleMania. And then Armando Estrada introduced the Great Khali, who actually has a match, as it's the Great Khali versus Stevie Richards. A power slam, and Great Khali wins. I would give this a negative star rating, but it's a dud. Everything's just a dud or less here. This was terrible. Like, really? You're throwing Stevie Richards, who you just gave a 3-week win streak, and then you have him lose one match to come out and just get destroyed by the Great Khali in one move. This was dumb. I give this a dud.
Yeah, it's a dud. I guess so much for that Stevie push was fine for a week, but it's like, all right, let's move on. And really, this was not even so much about it was about Khali putting him over for the battle royal, but then it then became more about after the match when Mike Knox came out and destroyed Stevie.
Yeah, Mike Knox comes out and he starts beating on Stevie. He gives Stevie a leg drop and a neck breaker. So hopefully we get a feud out of this. They have been trying time and time again to push Mike Knox here. They tried him with CM Punk, and that didn't really work. And now they're trying again with Stevie, because the last time we saw Stevie Richards in a feud, it was with Kevin Thorne, but then Kevin Thorne ends up getting released. So we'll have to see if this turns into something as well. Then we have Kofi Kingston versus Deuce from the tag team Deuce and Domino, alongside with Cherry. I think, Steve, that this is where we see them shuffle like people in and out, because on the last episode we didn't see Kofi Kingston in a match. We see him in a promo, in a backstage skit, but now we don't see Chavo after he had a magnificent match with CM Punk for the ECW title. Like, Chavo's just taken off of TV here, taken off of ECW here, but again, it's announced that it'll be a battle royal for Chavo Guerrero's ECW title #1 contenders match. But now we have Kofi Kingston. Like I said, it's Kofi Kingston versus Deuce. Kofi goes to work on Deuce, crossbody to Deuce, scissor lock to Kofi, leg drop to Deuce, Jamaican buzzsaw to Deuce for the win. I gave this matchup a 1.5 stars. Not really a whole lot from Deuce, but the crowd here was really cheering on Kofi. The Chicago crowd is one of those crowds that will let you know if you made it or not. Like, we've seen Kofi Kingston have dead crowds in his first almost month here in ECW, and now the fans are starting to get with Kofi here as they were cheering him, and they were giving him loud pops too, Steve.
Yeah, I went 1.25 stars. I mean, you actually made an interesting point. So Kofi had debuted in ring back on January 22nd, and he's been in the match every single week until the previous week. That was like the first one he missed since debuting, and like you said, now he's back. So I thought when you said that, I thought that was interesting. Yeah, pretty much. Again, and if I didn't say my grade, I want to start in a quarter. Again, pretty much a showcase for Kofi. Deuce and Domino coming over from SmackDown. They're kind of in limbo right now. Not really much going on with them. Kofi gets gets to show off again, gets his big spots in. And yeah, I listened very closely. Yeah, Chicago gave Kofi a nice welcome when he came in. So the support is growing for him. And then Kofi getting another clean win to stay undefeated. And yeah, I still like how they call that finisher the Jamaican Buzzsaw. I'm anxious to see when they switch it over to Trouble in Paradise, because I think they probably should just kept. I think Jamaican Buzzsaw is actually a better finisher name than Trouble in Paradise.
Yeah, they just call it the Jamaican Buzzsaw, and it's like, oh, that's a pretty good move, like you said here. Now we have Lena Yada again. She's interviewing CM Punk. Punk says he will beat Big Daddy V tonight and get the briefcase at WrestleMania 24. So the high hopes for CM Punk here as he goes into his matchup with Big Daddy V for the Money in the Bank spot. And then if you thought that them burying Stevie Richards in this Great Khali match was bad, wait till you see how much hope they lost in Elijah Burke, and the Elijah Express has crashed and burned, Steve. Okay, we have Elijah Burke versus Festus. And again, Festus is doing that trance when the bell rings. He turns into a monster, almost like Bubba Ray Dudley would get in that trance after slamming a woman through a table. This is fun, but again, they lost hope in Elijah Burke. Let's take a look at it. Festus misses and then goes into the ring post. So there's a first, like they're battling and Festus misses one big spot and he goes right into the ring post. A DDT to Festus, drop kick by Burke, shoulder tackle to Burke, and a bicycle kick, and then a flapjack to Burke for the win. Steve, for as bad as I feel bad for Burke, I gave this matchup a 1.5 stars because I like Festus's dominance, but again, I thought they were trying to retry Burke here as well, but for him to lose to Festus, you would think that Burke would just dominate and we would see that Elijah Express. No, we're seeing Festus beat Elijah Burke. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I want a star. Think about where we were last year at this time in 2007 when Elijah Burke was seen as the leader of the new breed. It seemed like the next, rising star in not just ECW but WWE. Man, how the mighty have fallen. I think the Jesse Festus gimmick has always been kind of, I've never hated it. It's, fine for what it is. I think this is actually the first time we've seen Festus in a singles match. I might have to go back and check on that, but it is kind of weird seeing him in a singles match here. Yeah, I don't want to say a burial because Burke did get some good offense in, but I mean to lose to Festus of all people. I mean, again, this was a guy that a year ago seemed like such a hot rising star. And could potentially be one of your top heels, and now here, going into WrestleMania 24, he's now just he's in essence almost become a jobber to the stars. I mean, he gets a few wins here and there, but for the most part, he's just putting guys over, and it's just really unfortunate because the guy is really talented. He can talk, he can work. We've seen him have good feuds, particularly that one with Punk, and I don't know what happened. Why they just lost faith in him so quickly.
Yeah, it's a mystery. And Festus gets a win on ECW, and the crowd was Like, oh, okay, yeah, Festus wins. Like, they were cheering a little bit here. Now we have our main event.
I mean, the gimmick's
It is,
over, but again, it's
yeah. Go ahead.
no. I was just gonna say. I mean, the Jesse and Festus gimmick is over, but it's just it's they're a tag team. That's where you're supposed to. That's where you usually keep them. And if you're gonna split up at singles, especially you're gonna put one of them against somebody like Elijah Burke that you seem to have big things for. That's a spot where one of them puts Burke over, not the other way around.
Yeah, it's crazy here. So now we have our main event. It is the hometown hero of Chicago, CM Punk, versus Big Daddy V for a Money in the Bank spot here. It's the qualifying match. V throws Punk, kicks the V, but a sidewalk slam to Punk. V chops Punk down, running knees to V, but V counters the Bulldog. V squashes Punk. And then V goes to the outside and he gets counted out. He can't make it back in for the 10 count. So CM Punk wins by a count out to get this Money in the Bank qualifier match here. I went a half a star, and then he gives a GTS to Stryker to end the show. This is a very bad main event. I'm surprised I'm even giving it a half a star. Again, you're putting CM Punk versus a guy who weighs obviously more than him and is bigger than him in size and weight. Height and weight. And again, he wins by countouts. But again, the fans aren't going to boo him or not really give him a silent cheer. They're going to cheer for him because he's the hometown hero. But again, Big Daddy V of all people, you could have had a better matchup if you put Punk versus Elijah Burke one more time for the Money in the Bank qualifying match.
Yeah, I did give it a star. I think a lot of that's just because the crowd was so hot for Punk. Our first time seeing Big Daddy V in a long time. I was looking back. I think the last time we saw him was either. I think it was right at the end of 2007 when he was one of the first guys that squashed Colin Delaney. Since then, he's pretty much just kind of mainly been on SmackDown because if those remember, No Way Out, he was in the SmackDown chamber to determine the number one contender for the world title. So kind of funny seeing him back here after all this time. And I guess, I'll go ahead and say it now. This is actually the last time we see him in terms of anything. So there is that. Yeah, pretty much just based again, just Punk taking a beating. That spinning sidewalk slam I thought was a nice little spot, but why is Punk not winning clean? Especially after he put Chavo over strong the week before, you can't give him some sort of clean win here over V. He has to win. He can only win by count out. I know V's big and Punk obviously can't hit the GTS, but you're telling me he can't do something else to pin V? It just I don't know.
I think he could have done a diving elbow off the top rope as inspiration by Macho Man Randy Savage, but they don't even do that. You can't win with a diving elbow. It has to be by a count out here. And I was wondering, does V get released, or is he just taken off TV and then released?
So I do have the notes here. So he actually would he would suffer. I guess he would after this suffer an injury, and he was out of action then. Because I would not be surprised. I'm pretty sure he was supposed to be in the Battle Royal, but we didn't see him. And then he would actually in the draft that year, he would be drafted to SmackDown, but he would never make an appearance because he was released on August 8th of 2008. And then from there, pretty much just worked the indie scene, worked as Big Daddy V. He was King V. He did some work in All Japan. And then, of course, on February 18th, 2014, he tragically passed away from a heart attack. He had just turned 43 a few days prior. So So unfortunately, a sad end for Big Daddy V. But again, it's just like I don't know, just really could have done something better here to have Punk go over here. I mean, him going over was the right move, but he should have just found some way to win clean. And then he does, like you said, takes out Striker. And one thing we didn't mention was Shelton Benjamin was on commentary during the match. And he and Punk kind of got into it afterward, got into a little bit out, had like back and forth afterwards. So, yeah, just I don't know. You're in Punk's hometown. Do something better than just this whole. And it wasn't even like a good count out. It was one of those like where Punk was on the ropes, V charged him, and then Punk just like pulled the top rope down, and V tumbled over the top of the floor. Like that's enough to keep him down for a 10 count. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, like Punk's like counting faster than the referee too. Like, hurry it up, ref. Another thing too, going back to Big Daddy V, he was in, like you said, he was in the SmackDown Elimination Chamber, but they were trying to feature him as like an ECW star that was like combined with the SmackDown and ECW Chamber. So it was a little bit weird because we didn't see V on ECW since he squashed Colin Delaney, and then he was a feature on SmackDown, but they were trying to make it seem like, oh, V's an ECW star.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, another guy like, I mean, he talk about a guy who like such a fast rise, but then just as quick a fall. I mean, when he came into ECW over the summer with this new gimmick, repackaged as like a monster heel, gets Matt Striker as his mouthpiece, which was good, and they rocketed him right to the top of the the heel chain. He gets the No Mercy match with Punk that barely goes 2 minutes, and he loses because Striker gets involved, which was weak. And then after that, he just again he just kind of got demoted. I mean, he was still somewhat in the mix, and I even mentioned back on at Armageddon, I think it was him that got the win in that tag match where he pinned Punk, and nothing came of that. So again, I just don't know, they lost faith in him, that maybe they just thought, I mean, because think about it, this Nelson Frazier, Big Daddy V, he's gotten so many chances in WWE. I mean, think back to when he was Mabel, and then his original Viscera run, and it's like the guy just never could sustain anything. Like he would get hot for a little bit, had a meteoric rise, but then just have a very quick fall. And whether it's sometimes it was self-inflicted for him, just because the story was like, especially in like the mid '90s when he was Mabel, that he was unsafe and reckless. As opposed to now, where it's just like he's, they see him
overweight.
Yeah, that was the other thing. And I know that, prior to his death, he, his wife wanted him to try to, he did try to get his weight down. At one point, he did, because he had type 2 diabetes, and he did end up at one point losing over 100 pounds, and getting his blood pressure down to a healthy level prior to his death. So I know that was also part of it. But again, just I don't know. Right decision, had Punk win to get in the Money in the Bank, but it just could have been a lot better.
Yeah. So again, this is the last time we see V, and CM Punk is moving on to the Money in the Bank because again, we were saying either Punk wins back the ECW title or he moves on from the Chavo feud and moves on from ECW altogether. So it looks like he's moving into a direction where he's moving on to greater pasture.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's going to do it from us recording for Extreme Resurrection. But before we go, Steve, do you have anything that you want to direct the listeners to?
So you can usually find me over on the PTB Pop feed. I got some good shows over there. Pop Goes to Classics, Video Jukebox Song of the Day, and Making Mount Rushmore, which Gruney, you were on the most recent episode where you and I discussed everything Muppets. We did Muppet characters and Muppet TV shows and films with some added insight from Andy and Miranda. So if you've not listened to that, please do so. You can also find me over on the PTB Wrestling feed. With, like I said, with this show, and then I also occasionally appear on the North South Connection with Cronoso, occasionally, and then I do, of course, I notice occasionally when Ryan does his premium live event previews, I occasionally may go on for that. Actually, I was on a recent episode where he and I talked the men's Money in the Bank match on who we thought had the best chance to win. So please be sure to give that a view, and please be sure to make sure you subscribe to all of our YouTube channels.
Yeah, I thought doing that Muppets episode was very, very fun, and it brought me back to my childhood, and talking about the Muppets was very fun. Like what my favorite Muppets are, and what my favorite Muppet shows or movies were as well. As for me, you can mostly find me on the Place to Be Nation wrestling feed. I have this podcast, and I also have Nation Invasion, where I'm going back and with guests looking back at the Invasion era when WCW and ECW formed the alliance, and we're trying to take down the WWF. We just did our No Mercy recording, and I am on the final stretch with Jeremy Nichols as we are heading to a very big Raw the night after No Mercy 2001, where Vince McMahon will have a huge announcement regarding the future of the Alliance and the WWF as well. Also, you can find me on the Place to Be Nation pop feed. I have a podcast called Whatever It Takes. It's a not whatever it takes. Pop goes Degrassi, a Degrassi pod, where me and John Kesalica, we are going over reviewing episodes of Degrassi Next Generation. We will be covering the two-parter called Shout, where Paige meets a boy named Dean. They go to a party, but will Paige's actions have consequences and a huge aftermath as well from her actions at this party too. Well, that's going to do it from us here tonight on Extreme Resurrection. I'm James Gruenberg. He's Steve Riddle, and we will see you next time.